Ladies and gentlemen, we hoped you enjoyed that new version of the intro I whipped up 10 minutes before the show. Feeling pretty good about it.
Nicely done.
Guys, welcome back to the Shea Station podcast, your greatest place for all your Mets recap and news. I'm Jolly, that's Jerry, and we have yet another series win to talk about, baby.
That's exciting stuff, man. I like that you went very recent on your Gary Cohen call there.
Mm-hmm.
We were rocking the Bartolo home run for so long.
Yeah, we gotta get new ones.
Yeah, it's nice to be up to date, if you will, because we got a lot of stuff to be happy about. Another series win, this time against a really, really talented St. Louis Cardinals team, and the Mets are in a much deserved, much earned off day.
Yeah. I think that's a huge key point here. These guys have played a great brand of baseball. They had a very exasperating Game 3 that I'm sure we'll be talking about at length. But your 14-6 Mets are looking pretty good towards the end of April. One more big set with Philadelphia before we kick off May. But there's a lot to take away from this series between Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. I mean, every game has something fun storyline-wise. So I guess, do you want to dive in? Do we want to wait?
Let's dive in. Let's get right
cool.
to it. You take Game 1.
Oh, Game 1 was a doozy. It happened on my birthday, and I was very scared that I was going to get a bad birthday present from my team. The Mets were stymied by Miles Mikolas for 7 innings. They could not figure that guy out. Luckily, on the other side of the bump was Max Scherzer, who tossed 7 scoreless innings. 2 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, over 101 pitches from Max. Another great start. Back-to-back starts have been fantastic for him. 14 scoreless innings, 20 Ks in that span. Important thing to note that we'll touch on a little bit later. Mikolas hit Mark Canha in this game. We're going to talk a lot about hit by pitches this episode. I'm sure you know why. Cardinals broke through in the 8th inning for 2 runs against Trevor May. Tough inning there for him. In for the save, Giovanni Gallegos got 2 outs pretty quickly, gave up a single in that span, but it looked like curtains for the Mets. And then Mark Canha worked this beautiful 7-pitch at-bat. Actually, he talked with Gary Cohen about this after. I want to talk about what they talked about. 7-pitch at-bat, fought off a bunch of sliders, hooked one down the line. Nolan Arenado makes a rare error, throws it over first base. The Mets get a run. Then a McNeil double and Dom Smith, which you just heard on the call in the intro, lines 1 to first. Goldschmidt, honestly, with a great play, flipped it, didn't get there in time. The Mets scored 2. Nimmo puts the game away with a 2-run homer off McFarland. Edwin Diaz came in to lock the save, and the Mets win a game 5-2 that I feel like in the past I've only seen them lose, which was really encouraging.
They stole it, man. 2 outs in the 9th. Arenado, I think they actually gave it a hit and an error, which will definitely be challenged and reversed.
Yeah.
100% an error on maybe the greatest defensive third baseman of this era in Nolan Arenado. But that was a huge gritty win for the Mets. They came out, got their lineup was just dominated by Cardinals pitching, matched step and step with Max Scherzer. But, it came down and they had a letdown with Trevor May, kind of let the air out of the game a little bit, deflated on your birthday. You were like, oh,
I didn't believe.
Maybe it's not going to be great because it was late in the game. It just felt like this one got away from us. And then the pesky, gritty Mets. What's the thing you've been using on Twitter? What is it?
Whenever Mark Canha gets on base, I say stay pesky, and I just love the grit of this team. The dog,
a lot of high
team.
Grit on your baseball savant. So it was very gritty, a gritty win.
Absolutely,
it was a lot of things had to go their way. They talk about luck. Better to be lucky than good on a lot of times, but luck is only works out in your favor when you're prepared to take advantage of it. And the Mets did. They played hard to the last out, to the last strike. They put the pressure on, and sometimes it's going to come up your way, but it only comes up your way if you've constantly putting pressure out there on the defense. Very impressive win.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a 9th inning that I feel like I've only ever seen from the other side. These Mets, it was a 2-out rally, which this team has put up a bunch of 2-out runs this year. They lead MLB in 2-out runs as of today. And I mean, some things turn your way sometimes. I mean, that Nolan Arenado play was not easy, but he is a guy that makes that play. I think if he doesn't take the 5 steps, rush the throw and throw it over. At the same time, Dom Smith coming up ice cold in a pinch hit, has to work a great count there against a tough pitcher in Gallegos, and Goldie made a great play that I thought would have ended the game in heartbreak. Instead, the pitcher forgets to cover the mound. Goldie, the entire time, as soon as he flips the ball, is telling him, go home, throw home. But Gallegos turns, checks for the umpire's call, and then, it's a bang-bang play at the plate. And if he just turns and fires, maybe it's a tie game. Maybe we go to extras. Maybe we lose that game. So sometimes things just turn your way. It's great.
A lot of things went the way.
Yeah.
So that was a big win. We move on to game 2. That was Chris Bassett versus the bullpen guy turned starter and Jordan Hicks.
It's
Mr.
weird.
104 looked fantastic. He took a line drive off his wrist, which was very familiar to me, that ended up fracturing my arm, which was why I was curious that they let him out there and let him keep throwing, because it came back to bite him. He wasn't comfortable. He came back in that third, and James McCann gets the Mets on the board first. James McCann, yes,
Wild.
You heard that correctly, laces a double over the very defensive first Harrison Bader, burns him to dead center. And that scores Jeff McNeil. He burned him. Then Starling Marte singles in McCann to make that 2-0 in the third. And that would be all the Mets needed, because Chris Bassett was stellar once again, goes 6 strong, 6 shutout, gives 2 hits, has 6K, did have 3 walks, but he was, the turn of phrase is gritty, man. He made it happen when he did. The Mets ended up getting another one in the ninth when Starling Marte, with the bases loaded, once again, another Met gets hit by a pitch, wore one off the arm really hard, and stood there like, you got to be, excuse my language, he goes, you got to be fucking kidding me, man. It wasn't on purpose, because the bases were loaded in a 2-0 game. But come on, this is getting crazy, is basically what he was saying. And so, Marte with another 2-out double, the Mets win. You get Drew Smith, Adam Ottavino, and then Diaz comes in to slam the door closed. A brilliant 3-0 Mets win in game 2.
You want a fun stat here, Jerry? It's not fun.
Yes.
It's actually gets my blood going a little bit. The Mets have 19 hit batters on the season. That far and away leads MLB. 19, second place is 13 with the Orioles. The Pirates, Astros, White Sox, Royals, all combined, with the Tigers as well, have 18 combined. That's 5 different teams that don't even amount to the amount of times the Mets have been hit. So, if you find yourself wondering why what happened in Game 3 next happened, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty good reason there. I mean, it's just it led to a run here, which is always great, but you don't want your guys risking injury and getting hit all the time. I know that we have guys that thrive on it, like Nimmo and Canha, but at the same time, it's too much.
Nobody wants to get hit anymore.
No.
Guys throw too hard. You're too vulnerable for big chunks of time missed. Understanding that it's not on purpose, but it doesn't matter. Intent at this point doesn't matter, because it needs to stop happening.
Yeah.
If you can't control it to where the Mets get hit all the time, then the Mets are going to have to stand up for themselves. Even if it wasn't on purpose, that has to be in your head that if I even hit this team on accident, that my guys are going to pay the price. So if you're trying to pitch up in the zone and you don't have control, guess what? You're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you plunk one of our guys on accident, we're going after your best players on purpose, because you need to learn how to control it. This is the big leagues. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But let's get into it now.
Yeah, honestly, let's dive in a little bit.
So this is it. The Mets are fed up. This is the big leagues. These are guys that are at the top of their game pitching wise, that should be able to control it. One here, one there. Even when Lindor got hit in the face the first time, they were like, what's the big deal? McCann almost gets hit in the first in Washington. They're like, look, this is crazy. We understand that there's no intent to do it, but come on. We're here. How many did you say? 19?
19 on the season.
19 on the season, and way too many up at people's heads. Alonso gets hit in the head again. Wild. This just shouldn't happen. It can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
There's no more. The entire league, anybody that comes in to face the Mets is now aware that this team has been hit unintentionally or intentionally too many times to know that if you hit one of our guys, like with a fastball, especially up, your guys are going to get plunked. I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is. The whole league is on notice now, because the Mets have to stand up for themselves. So that's that's where we are.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's a tough perspective to understand if you are a Cardinals fan or an opposing fan where you feel like none of these hit by pitches were intentional and that retaliation wasn't deserved or anything like that. But like, I'm glad that the Mets have a little bit of like the enemy status in them. Like, play up to being the bad guy. Play up to like standing up for your team and not taking any bullshit from other teams. Like, it's a very old saying, but if you can't throw high and tight, if you're in the major leagues and you can't throw high and tight without hitting a guy, then you shouldn't be throwing there. You shouldn't be throwing at the big leagues.
Absolutely.
And like, we can talk about the balls. Like, Bassett talked a lot about like the grip of the balls and stuff like that. But at the same time, like, the Mets have 6 more hit by pitches than any other team in baseball. Only 5 teams have above 10, and they have 19. And in 20 games, that's ridiculous.
We had Dom Smith get hit on a breaking ball, not a big deal, but still another hit by pitch. And then you had Pete Alonso get hit in the head again for the second time this season. And then Marte wears one hard up in the arm for an RBI. None of them are on purpose, but guess what? Like, that, you have to be able to control yourself now. Like, it's beyond anything. So understand going in when you're facing the New York Mets, they've been classy. The Mets have been classy. Buck Showalter has led them in the proper direction. But now it becomes, all right, we're not going to let you be, we're literally not going to be a pincushion for you to just punch whenever. We're not a punching bag. I don't care how many times we're going to beat you on the field. We're not going to let you just get sucker punches in. It's gone too far, too quickly, too early in this season. Because if they don't start standing up for themselves, teams are just going to still feel comfortable to throw the ball up and in. And if it gets away, it gets away. They're not going to feel the pressure to hit their spots. And the pressure that they need to feel is real now.
Yeah. I mean, this all came to a boil over point in Game 3. The Mets jumped out to a 4-1 lead off Mats, had that blow-up inning in the third. Nito and Nimmo had 2-run doubles. Eddie, Canha, Guillorme, they all had 2 hits in this game. So, like, good offensive performance by the team. Kokia had kind of an implosion in the 4th inning, a 5-run 4th. Not used to what we're seeing from him this season so far. He's been really good at like keeping the rallies from not expanding too far. But this game, you saw his ERA jump from 1.47 to 4.09. The Cardinals just kind of jumped on the Mets bullpen after they took out to a 10-5 lead. But then the story of this game really happens in the later innings, in the 7th and 8th inning. Genesis Cabrera hits J.D. Davis pretty hard in the foot. J.D. had to come out of the game. X-rays were negative, so he's not going to hit the IL or anything, but he's very sore. This is on his birthday, too. Tough luck for JD. And then, I mean, Yohan Lopez said in the postgame that he was not intending to throw that high and tight at Nolan Arenado, but when it happened, it sure seemed like it made a lot of sense and that a lot of people saw it coming. In the 8th inning, they throw at Nolan Arenado. They don't hit him, but Nolan kind of, charges the man a little bit, throws Nito out of the way. The bench is empty. A little bit of punches were thrown. Pete Alonso gets dragged to the ground. It's a very, high-intensity fight that we haven't really seen from the Mets in a while. We've seen, we saw the benches clear against the Yankees last year. That was kind of all good and fun, kind of a silly fight in general. This one is much more real. This is the frustrations of a team that has been dealing with this every single game of the season, and they won another series, but at the same time, like every day, it kind of seems like these guys are just at risk of getting hit high and tight over and over and over again, and I think that this kind of reaction was important for this team. I think this team needs to show a little bit of fire. You have a new manager. You have kind of a new identity as a team as well. And you need to show teams that you're not willing to put up with any bullshit and not willing to just get walked all over like maybe some prior Mets teams would have. So the scrum happens. The Cardinals win the rubber match. The Mets take the series. But I think that there's a lot of fire in this team now going into a very heated series against Philadelphia at home this weekend.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, Cookie got his butt kicked. He didn't look terrible. They are just a good team that ran into him. He gave up a lot of hits on different pitches. He was trying to make the adjustment. We got our butts kicked. We blew a chance to sweep.
Yeah.
So that's the story. But a couple of things. First of all, Arenado I love Nolan Arenado as a player. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, talent. I like the way he plays the game. There's a little bit of history of him there. So when he was with the Rockies, the Rockies had hit the Padres a few times. I don't even remember what year, but Luis Perdomo was pitching, threw at Arenado, and Arenado charged the mound.
Yeah.
I don't agree with Arenado charging the mound there. Your guys, they put a guy on the DL for the Padres, and they said, we're going to hit Arenado This is your best guy. You got to wear one for the team. Arenado didn't appreciate it. In this situation, I understand Arenado's thought because all things being equal, all things being perfect, Yohan Lopez isn't the guy that should be doing it.
Yeah.
It should be a Trevor May, an established guy that has some control, that dots him in the ribs, hits him. You aim for right above the hip and you have a little bit of leeway there. You throw at him one time and you hit him and it's over. He would have walked to first, but he didn't like the fact that Lopez missed up right by his head. Well, guess what, dude? This is the whole reason why we're throwing at you, is because the Mets have been, even by your team, who just hit Pete Alonso in the head. It was on, I think it was a changeup, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I understand why he was heated. If the Mets were perfect in the sense, it wouldn't have been Yohan Lopez, because it shouldn't be a guy that's just a guy. No offense to him, but on this team, you need a guy established that you can stand, that knows how to do it, knows how to control it, to plunk him.
Yeah.
Hit him in the ribs. He goes down to first, but what he was pissed. He was like, yo, you're going to, after all this bullshit, you're going to pull the same stuff and miss up. So I understand why he got heated. Don't touch Nito.
Yeah. I mean,
don't throw Nito.
Whoever
I think their first base coach grabbed Alonso and started wrestling him because Pete was very angry. We had a
collar neck on Alonso and then like 5 guys.
Don't touch Pete Alonso either. That got me going.
Yeah.
Let the guys come in and speak their mind, because at this point they've earned the right to stick up for themselves.
Here's my thing that really annoyed me about a lot of Cardinals fans that I was talking about this with. The rationale was like, okay, well, when they hit Pete, it was a changeup. One, if you're locating a changeup way up high and tight, I don't know what you're doing. That's like a pitch you need to try and get him to chase. That's a whole nother discussion. At the same time, if you can't locate your changeup, you shouldn't be throwing it. Throw your fastball, whatever. At the same time, when Chris Bassett makes his comments in the postgame and blames the balls and like tries to address MLB on it, a Cardinals pitcher, Miles Mikolas, who just shut us out for 7 innings, so props to him, tells Bassett and tells the media, it's not the ball's fault. Take some accountability for the pitches that you throw. If you can't play both sides in that case. If you have a player on your team saying the pitchers are responsible for where they throw the ball because he was mad at Bassett for throwing at Cardinals players, then you can't play that card when your player gets hit in that same vein. Like, you can't play both sides. So, I mean, I get where they're coming from with the changeup standpoint, but at the same time, Pete Alonso's gotten hit in the head twice this season. If you expect the team to not retaliate, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I like the Cardinals. They have a good, solid team. They did what they felt was necessary, and I don't disagree with anything that they did besides the Nito and whatever coach grabbed.
I forget his name.
Alonso. Unnecessary.
Yeah.
But stand up for yourself. You should be mad that he missed up towards your head, because those are career enders. Those are life enders if you get hit properly.
Chris Bassett got hit in the head. Like, he was speaking
There's
from
a
experience.
reason why the Mets were so angry. But it is all those factors. Bassett is right that the balls are terrible. It's the reason why MLB let the pitchers start to use sticky stuff in the first place, because they know the balls are trash.
Yep.
The players took it way too far, started to take advantage, because if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. It is. But instead of addressing the problem, which is the baseball, they just got rid of the solution of the bad problem. And now you're seeing some of and there's a lot of this is an era of, if you have the stuff, we're going to bring you to the big leagues because you're cheap. So a lot of bullpen guys come in. They know they can throw the shit out of the ball. They can, excuse my language this episode, but I'm fired up.
We're hot right now.
They can throw the ball really hard, have high spin rates, and have good stuff. They have not earned the right or earned the ability to know exactly how to use their stuff. Yeah. They don't have the same experiences of pitching like this. So what used to be guys that have a lot of control, by the time you get to the big leagues, you've learned how to harness your stuff. Now you just get put in the big leagues when you have big league stuff. You may not know how to locate it or consistently, handle different atmospheres and elevations to be able to control your stuff. And so you have this perfect storm of inconsistent baseball, guys that have extreme velocity, pitching up in the zone as an effect on purpose, which is pretty much new. And then you have guys that have amazing stuff that don't have the same amount of control of guys in the past. So you have all these things working against or working towards guys or teams like the Mets getting hit more often. And it happened too often. And now the Mets are saying it's not going to happen again. If you do it again, your guy's getting dotted. I don't care what pitch it is. I don't care what happens. I don't care if it was on purpose or not. We're not putting up with it anymore. We did the right thing for this whole beginning of the season, and it's over. Everybody should be aware that the Mets will stand up for themselves upon first. Yep. You no longer get the benefit of the doubt. Any team that comes in and plays against the New York Mets, whether we're at your place or ours, we are going to stand up for ourselves. And I love it. Teams are going to know it's going to be a real thing. And if their pitching coaches and their players don't discuss it when they talk about scouting reports, then this is going to continue to happen. And if it happens again, guess what? The next team better understand in their scouting reports that if you hit a Met, you can still pitch inside. I would still try to throw inside. And if I hit a guy, I hit a guy, because you have to be able to throw in to be effective. But understand there's going to be some consequences because the Mets have earned the right to be defensive.
I agree with everything you said. Honestly, I like that this is a hot episode. Let's get a little hot. Let's get a little fire.
Yeah, man. I'm not normally a curse type.
I think it's warranted.
But I get fired up, especially in, I've been in a clubhouse for so long. I understand the feelings that go on. And it's really important for the position players to know that the pitchers care about them too. Yep. You remember when Lindor got hit, he was on his way out, going into the dugout, going in to get his x-rays, and was like, I appreciate every one of you, because everybody, the whole team felt that was wrong, and they stood up for him. And it's the same now. It's the same thing. So if Marte gets hit and he's like, what is happening? Everybody, all those guys in the bullpen stand up and are like, ooh, you know what I mean? Everybody's on edge, and it's warranted now. So the whole team is behind it. Everybody's got each other's backs. I hope that we don't ever have to see any of this pop up again, because the Mets no longer get hit up high and tight. If a breaking ball gets away from somebody and hits a guy in the thigh, he'll jog down to first base, and just be like, look, that's part of the game. Things happen. But if you come up and in, and your first reaction, I think, listen to Todd Zeal on the broadcast. He talked about it. Your first reaction is, that hurt. Like, you did that to me. I'm mad. And you deserve to be mad, because that does hurt. And so Alonso got mad, jumped up, was angry, and was like, I'm going to run to first base because I don't want to get suspended, get some of my teammates hurt in a skirmish. But he's mad, and I think the Mets handled it great. I think the Cardinals did a pretty good job, because they're a classy organization. For the most part, I think things went about as smoothly as possible. Nobody else got extended injuries. There was no real bad things happening. I like where it went. I think the Cardinals did a good job of standing up for themselves. But ultimately, this is a Mets pod, man.
Yeah.
They're in a good position. I think they stood up for themselves. I think they put the league on notice. They didn't do it in a classless way. I wish they would have just plunked him right in the ribs. Arenado would have worn it, and it would have been over. It would have hurt. And your best players are going to wear one in the ribs if you hit a Met player. So I think it's we're where we are, where we need to be for everything. I think, again, this clubhouse, this Buck Showalter led team is doing things in the right way. This is old school. The new school would be like, just put your head down, go to first. These aren't on purpose. Nobody's trying to end anybody's career. This is let the kids play kind of era. No. This is still baseball. This is still 100+ years of history of, you don't hit our guys. This is the real deal.
And it was also like two sides of a coin, because you had Alonso, who got up, and for a second, fans everywhere were like, oh, is it about to happen? Like, is he about to run at this kid? And then he jogged to first. He made the veteran decision, which I really liked, even though it's a tough spot to be in, because your blood is boiling at that point. It's the second time in 20 games that's happened to you. At the same time, we mentioned the Lindor scuffle. We mentioned both of Alonso's getting hit in the heads. Marte, first one out, first one on the step every single time is Buck Showalter, because he vouches for his guys, and that is like the other side of the coin there of like he'll get into the scrum if he needs to. Buck's an old guy, but I wouldn't fuck with Buck because honestly, like, hey, that's a little rhyme. You like that? That's a t-shirt.
They don't. That is a t-shirt. Speaking of t-shirts, you're rocking the Great Human Being. I love seeing it. I haven't gotten mine yet. It looks fantastic. You look kind of ripped in it. You've been doing some push-ups.
It hugs the arms. It hugs the arms a little bit. I'm flattered.
Let's just say Buck Showalter is the guy. He's got such great understanding of the moment. He doesn't let an emotion get too high in a sense. So when he's pissed, it's deserved. Yeah. You don't feel like he's a hothead and he's just like, starting something. And the guys understand that when Buck's mad, it's okay to feel upset. Yeah. So the Mets are in a great position. They did everything the right way, and they are in a great position to defend themselves now. I think they're in a not obviously everything is going great because nobody got hurt. Thank goodness. Sure. Nothing's too bad. It's that you don't see a Kevin Pillar. Yeah. But teams better think twice. Yeah, you better have an understanding.
We got our emotions out, but there are still plenty of great things that came from this series, including the fact that the Mets won a series at Busch Stadium, which they don't do a lot. They're 14-6. It's one of only 4 Mets teams in history to win at least 13 of their first 18 games. 3 of those seasons are pretty special. 1986, 2015, 2022, obviously, and then 2018's in there as well. Kind of a weird Mets team in general. Yeah, you have a lot of
least favorite. That's my least favorite season I've ever played baseball in.
We'll dive in one day.
It's historic, man. They look good. They haven't, and again, man, it hasn't been this dominating.
One guy's doing it. One guy's carrying
it hasn't been overwhelming. They're just playing a good brand of baseball. Nobody's carrying the load. Nobody's going like on this amazing hot streak where the Mets are unhittable because Pete Alonso has hit 15 home runs in 8 games. It hasn't been that. It's just been a good brand of baseball. Really, really good pitching. And like, this is the New York Mets. It's amazing that they still have another couple of gears left in there when they need to turn it on. Yeah. I think it's in there. So
this is a team that won this series with 2-out runs. They lead MLB with 47 runs scored with 2 outs. And this is also a team that carried their guy this series. Francisco Lindor was in an 0-for-15 stretch during this Cardinals set. He went just 1-for-14 in the series. But other guys picked him up, and that's what it's all about. Next man up type thing.
Next man up. That's the
Another
key.
New shirt. I like that.
Another shirt. Yeah, no, that's the motto, man. They've been saying it for a while. It's true. Like Scherzer pitched an unbelievable outing against Miles Michaelis, and then the next man up got it. Then Bassett came in and stepped up. Cookie tried to do the same thing, and then whoever came in after him is trying to be the next man up, and you're just trying to pass the baton on to your teammates and putting them in a chance to you just want to do your job, keep the Mets wherever the score is. You want to, as a pitcher, you just want to keep it there. And then as a hitter, you just want to keep the line moving, get on base somehow to let the guys behind you do it. So nobody feels too much pressure because they know that the guy behind them has their back, man. It's awesome.
All right, I think it's time for our little apple of the eye, if you're down.
I love it. I am down. Jack. I'm going to go first.
Hang on.
You all right with that?
I'm all right with it.
The apple of our eye.
There it is.
All right. So I had two things I wanted to do.
Okay.
I wanted to highlight Mr. James McCann.
Yeah.
I almost chose him, but he only played one of the 3 games. But he went 3 for 4. Had a huge double, a run scored, and his swing looks good. It looked really solid. He looked like he was taking a better path to the ball. So I wanted to highlight him. Had he played in 2 games and done a little bit better, I think I would have picked him. But I'm taking the low-hanging fruit, the easy pick, and I'm going with Mr. Mad Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer dominated.
Yeah.
He matched Miles Michaelis punch for punch, pitch for pitch in that opening game. That first game of the series when you're on the road is so pivotal because you can lose the next one and still feel like you can win the series. But that watching him, he looked like the dominant force of Max Scherzer, the peak performance, because he's labored through, not even labored. he's dominated his earlier starts in a non-typical Max Scherzer fashion.
Yeah.
He's been mixing in a lot of things, but the 7 innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 10 punchies.
Yeah.
Like another double-digit punchy. He made Nolan Arenado look absolutely foolish on an at-bat. Like he took a first pitch fastball, Arenado, and you watched him melt down after that. And he knew that he's like, I missed my pitch. I'm done.
Now it's over.
Scherzer knew it on the mound. You saw him just throw sliders about this far out of the zone, and Arenado just wave at him and just go sit down because he knew he missed his one pitch. Like he just had a really good lineup full of really talented players off balance all day. So my apple of my eye is Mr. Max Scherzer.
Love that. And I liked what you said because I don't think, labored is not the right word for those first 2 starts, but I think that the Max Scherzer effect on me is taking place now because it's like, oh, this guy can just turn it on. And if he has it, hitters cannot touch him for the rest of the day. First 2 starts, it was 11 innings, 4 earned runs, 13 Ks. That's good. That's a 3.27 ERA. Last 2, 7 innings and 7 innings, both times less than 3 hits allowed. 10 strikeouts in both starts. Like that is crazy.
He's also got another gear, dude.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen him punch out 20.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic, like he's got another gear. So this is the Max Scherzer form. This is the guy that we paid that big money to, that Uncle Stevie convinced to come to New York because he's got a couple of years of this pure dominance left. And this is who we paid for, and that's who we're getting, man. He's a guy that can get it done like he did in previous starts, but we're also seeing him still in his prime. It's awesome.
All right, so mine, I'm going to go on the hitting side of things. A couple good choices here. Eduardo Escobar had a good series, went 4 for 11 with a double and a walk, another walk for Eddie. Jeff McNeil didn't play in all 3 games, but when he did play, he was 4 for 8 with 3 doubles. He was great this series. Mine is going to go to my guy, Mark Canha. I'll tell you why. Obviously, Canha got on base a ton this series. That's what he does. He goes 4 for 9, 2 walks, and a hit by pitch. I think that he could have gone 1 for 9 this series, and I think I still would have given him my award just for that at-bat in the 9th inning of Game 1. Gary talked about it on the broadcast, and they brought up a very interesting conversation that they had after that game about Canha because he's facing a bunch of new pitchers this season. He's facing all these new teams, going to all these new ballparks. It's like he's starting fresh again, like kind of relearning the major leagues a little bit because it's a whole new palette. What he said to Gary was, if I had swung first pitch and I hit a home run, that's great. That's a really great result. But I feel like I haven't learned anything from that at-bat. And Canha's whole thing is working counts and making sure he sees everything that a pitcher has to offer. So with Gallegos, I think threw him like 6 of 7 sliders in that at-bat, like just pounding sliders in all corners of the zone. Canha has a great eye. We all know this. And he just really waited for his great pitch. I mean, he went down 0-2 in the count really early. Mets went down to their last strike. And then he just fought and battled, and he hooked a pretty good pitch down the left field line. Nolan made a great stop. He was in the right place, just took too many steps. But without that Canha at-bat, it's probably an out. If you get to the next at-bat, McNeil needs to double, Dom needs to do his thing. But none of that rally happens without Canha working Gallegos for 7 pitches, then not giving him an out, so getting him tired in the first place, and then all these other dominoes fall in effect after. But that's just kind of the effect that Mark Canha brings to this lineup. It's like having a second Nimmo just randomly in the lower half of the order, and that's such a useful weapon because we saw what Nimmo did later in the inning to kind of seal the game. But when you have this like 400 on-base threat that can get on base 1 to 2 times every single game in conventional ways, it sets the table, and it's like we said before, next man up, pass the baton. When you have Mark Canha in the middle of that baton line, it's always going to keep going, which I love. So Canha had a great series, gets on base 7 times, and he gets my apple.
I love it. I want to touch on Mark Canha and that conversation that they had because it's important. This is a student of the game. This is another thing where he pulled the curtain back on a little bit on some of the guys that make themselves special. Like you mentioned Jeff McNeil.
Yeah.
I don't think it's comparable in a sense because they can hit everything or they're taking a lot of pitches. I think it's a different approach, though. I think Jeff McNeil is just allowing his talents to work. Yeah. And this is Mark Canha maximizing his talent because he's up there and he's being cerebral. So he talked about he got a first pitch slider and it was like a cement mixer. It was one of those that just kind of hung up.
Yeah.
And so he knew where it started, right below his knee, and it kind of just sat there, and he's 0-1. So then he got another one that was almost the same pitch in the same location, and he took a big swing at it, except this one was a sharp one.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, that had a lot more depth to it. He goes, so in order for that to be a strike, I'm going to have to see it above my knee. So he's already seen a bad slider and a good slider from him. He knows exactly if he needs to, whatever pitch he needs to see needs to be above his knee to remain a strike. And so he took some really good sliders that started exactly in the same spot, but he didn't make the mistake of chasing again. He said, all right, now it has to start a little bit higher than that. And he battled and battled and battled and got a pitch that he wanted to hit and took a good swing at it. Arenado should have made the play because he's Nolan Arenado. But like you said, it's a guy studying, because the next time he faces Gallegos, I thought I said Cabrera, but Gallegos. The next time he faces him, he has a notebook that he writes the stuff in. He will know when he goes in to face him already that approach, and he'll still see a few pitches. But this guy is collecting data. He's analyzing, understanding pitch to pitch what's going on. I used to do the same thing on the pitcher side. I used to understand, like, all right, this guy tried to jump this pitch here. I can move it in a little bit further there, and whatever situation, what your tendencies are, all of that he's understanding from his personal point of view, what he has to see in order for the ball to be a strike. And it's wonderful to see. It's even more amazing that he's able to articulate it, because some guys are just really talented and just do that naturally and don't really understand what they're doing. But you're seeing Mark Canha understand his ability in baseball and what he has to do to be the best at it. And you're seeing him apply it and being able to talk about it, which is a completely different skill. So awesome. I'm glad that you highlighted it. And I love the addition of Mark Canha.
Yeah, I mean, I have his pitch graph up here now from that at bat. Pitches 2 and 4. 2 is the slider that he swung at that fell out of the zone. 4 is another slider that's in the exact same place, but he takes it because he learned from that initial swing. And then that enables him to get to 3-2, enables him to get a pitch in the zone on the 7th pitch. By the way, they were all sliders. That's the only thing Gallegos threw.
All sliders, yep.
Crazy. So that was a crazy at bat. Great series from Mark Canha. And I like that you highlighted Jeff McNeil there too, because he did have a great series in those first 2 games. And he has this like simplified approach now. It feels like he's thinking way less about his at-bats, getting way less in his head. I think what Ronnie said on the broadcast was like he was overloaded with information last year, and now it just looks like he has a simplified approach, and his numbers are very, very similar to what we saw in 2018 through 2020. So
yeah, we saw he hit 4 for 8 with 3 doubles. Like those are legit like slugging percentage numbers. You hit 3 doubles. Like, it may not look like 20, what he hit, 23, 20-something home runs in
I'll
19.
check that out.
He hit like 20-something home runs. Those are going to happen just because he's a good hitter and he's going to run into a few. But when he shouldn't be trying to hit 20-plus homers. He's going to hit doubles and an occasional triple. His slugging percentage is going to be high enough because he can hit the ball in the gap down the line, go the other way. So he'll get his power numbers, but I don't think he should be chasing 20 plus home runs like I think he was in 2020 and 2021. So.
Yeah, I mean, he has 5 doubles right now. The season you're talking about, 2019, he had 23 homers, 38 doubles. So right now he's on a pace to get to about 36 to 38 doubles, which would put him right in that 2019 vein. You don't need him to hit 23 home runs. He's already slugging 492 right now.
Can I give you a weird example? I'm gonna pivot away. So this is kind of the information overload, right? So a guy like Jeff McNeil hits 20. How many home runs did he hit in 2019?
2019, he hit 23 home runs.
23 home runs. Okay. So on these, so the data would say, the analytical side of this would say, on these pitches, you're launching the ball like this. Your swing path is this. Let's replicate that on every swing because these are when you're making your most damage. So let's do that every time. Okay. Sounds smart, doesn't it?
Sure.
Let's just do the thing that makes you the best version of yourself. Let's do it all the time. The difference is those swings come on pitches that are mistakes and that he is reacting to.
Right.
So now, because of his approach and how he's attacking all those pitches, sometimes a pitcher's going to make a mistake, and where he is at in his swing, all of a sudden he gets that hanging breaking ball and he goes, boom, hands do it. It comes naturally. And now if you're forcing that swing all the time, pitchers are also going to notice that, and they're going to pitch him differently. They're like, hey, he's trying to launch everything. So if we keep the ball down, he's going to swing over top of it or pop it up or roll it over. And so that changes everything. It's your approach. What makes you good doesn't mean that you only have to do that. And from a pitcher standpoint, it's a guy that has a great slider. It's a wipeout slider. It flies off the zone. Guys chase it all the time. It has this amazing high chase rate, right?
Yep.
So why don't you just throw that all the time? Well, if guys know you're throwing just that pitch all the time, they're not going to chase it. Just like Mark Canha did, they're going to find out the version of that pitch that is a strike, and they're only going to look for that. Whereas before, you were effective with that because you were throwing that fastball up and in, and then off that fastball up and in, you're getting the slider away. Well, your fastball doesn't rate that high in analytics, but they don't. So they are going to shy away from you throwing that fastball. They just want you to throw that slider because your slider is elite. They don't understand that fastball that you throw that's not great is setting your slider up in the whole at bat. So there's an analytical side to things, and then there's a baseball side to things, and you got to have that happy marriage. And I think that's exactly where McNeil needs to be. And I think all that information of his launch angle and all those analytics, all that stuff was too much for him, just like they talked about in the broadcast. And then you just let him be himself, let him react. Mark Canha is more of that guy. Let's try to see what you can do with this kind of style.
Yeah.
Let McNeil be McNeil, and let him take advantage of mistakes in a completely reactionary way and not try to force it.
Right. And I think what contributes directly to what you're saying is the fact that McNeil's out-of-zone swing percentage is 29.1% this year. It's the lowest it's been in his career. His zone swing percentage, pitches in the zone that he's swinging at, 87.4, highest in his career. So he just has a great judgment of pitches right now. Everything's simplified, and like you said, he's going off recognition and reaction instead of just planning to golf. I feel like I saw him golf so many low fastballs and sinkers last season, straight into the air, trying to pull things for power.
He was trying to replicate what came as a reaction. He was trying to replicate it with every swing, and guys can't do that. You know, for every Daniel Murphy that's out there, there's a Jeff McNeil, that 100 of them that can't make that adjustment, and they're just not that style of player.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see him return to form. I think he's even a better version of himself. Obviously, it's easy when you're hitting 300 plus. But I think he's a more mature person now. I haven't seen those outbursts. Again, you know,
everything's easier when you're winning.
Everything's easier, but he hasn't had those same blowups, which I think are a huge step for him to stay and maintain a long season and maintain a high ability of output without having those extreme lulls. Those will help you get out of those slumps.
Yeah, and I keep hearing like what we said, like rose tinted glasses, everything's better when you're winning. But like I remember seeing McNeil's outburst in 2019 when he was having the best year of his career. Like I do think there is a character change here for sure.
Yeah. So I think it is, and I have seen it. It's the thing where you're like, all right, well, you don't want to sign off that he's a completely changed man, because you go in a 0 for 20 slump, it's going to change your whole output.
Yeah.
But I think he's mature enough now to be able to weather those storms and stay kind of even keel. And I think that's why I think he's better now than he was even in 2019.
So we love Jeff McNeil, we love Max Scherzer, we love Mark Canha.
Thank God we didn't trade Jeff McNeil, right?
Jeez, it feels so weird to think that there were serious talks about trading him in the offseason. Bizarre.
That's, you know, of all the brilliant additions to the Mets roster, the Scherzers, the Martes, the Escobar, Canha, Bassett, you know, all these great additions. And then you have the guys you didn't subtract, I think, that are making a big impact. So
they won you a game in the first game, and they won you that series by proxy.
Yeah, man. I mean, those are big moves. The moves that you don't make are also pretty important. So that's nice.
Some extra news for Mets fans. Tommy Hunter's back on a minor league deal. Claps for Tommy Hunter. He's back.
Yeah, if you have a moment, go back and look up his first hit postseason or post-game conference.
It was awesome.
You'll see the pure joy of baseball at its best. The guy is so happy. I've been there, buddy. I'm happy for Tommy Hunter. He had back surgery. Seems to be all better. we could see him in Queens, hopefully in the near future. He's a good ball player. So.
One of my favorite people from that unfortunate 2021 team. So happy Tommy Hunter's back. We got our DeGrom update. It's kind of strange. A lot of touchy lingo here. The big buzz phrase, I guess, is loading and strengthening of the shoulder. That's where we're at right now. Apparently, DeGrom's progress has been good, healing, but we don't have a timetable for his return yet. So there's that.
Now it's healed enough to where he can start putting stress on it. So it's a stress reaction. So he broke a bone. It's your body's like, stop doing that. Yep. And so he stopped. Now he's at a point to where he could start to strengthen, put some stress back on that area. And if it doesn't have a reaction, he can progress to throwing. So we're where we need to be. We were hoping for the miracle that he's healed and he's already stretched out to 100 pitches and he's going to slide right in to that rotation. Unfortunately, miracles aren't in the cards right now for him, but we've had some guys weather the storm. I'm just praying for him to come, sometime in July is my hope, that he's 100% and we can, get the ball running. Expect the worst, hope for the best. That's the thing.
It's a good moniker there, I think, for a lot of Mets fans. Big series coming up this weekend at Citi Field against those pesky Philadelphia Phillies. And we do have somebody returning from injury in this series, which is good. Taijuan Walker will be rejoining us.
He'll take the mound in game 2. We're dodging Zach Wheeler, which is always a nice win.
And Ranger Suarez, too. He's pretty good.
And Ranger Suarez. So we're getting Tyler McGill versus Aaron Nola. Alonso has had really good success in 31 at-bats against Nola, hitting 355 with 3 homers.
Nice.
Nimmo 10 for 30 with a homer. McGill looked good in his start against the Phillies, so that's good. Game 2, we got the return of Taijuan Walker. Thank you to David Peterson for holding down that spot admirably. Like, he did great.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Looked incredible in his 2 innings with that split changeup, just punching out the world. Let's hope that he's returned to that form. He's facing off against Kyle Gibson, who's amazing now again.
Yeah, he might be the best pitcher in the Phillies rotation right now, which is really weird.
Yeah, very weird. He's done really well. He's for all the crap we talked about analytics, this guy has figured out how to be the best version of himself, I think. So good for him. And then the game 3, Max Scherzer in his sparkling 1.8 ERA facing off against Zach Eflin, who I think he's like has the most control. I don't think he's made like 30 some starts without walking more than 2 hitters.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So their rotation, their team is good. Schwarber has struggled. He went 0 for 12, I think, in the first series against us.
We held him in check. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think he went 0 for, which is
don't expect that again.
So let's don't expect it again. Let's just put some runs up. So man, it's going to be a fun series. Enjoy this off day.
Yeah.
Today is an off day for you. It's the magical Thursday. Then you have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Should be a good one.
Yeah, the Phillies, they lost their series to the Brewers. They just won 3 in a row against the Rockies. They have game 4 today. If they win today, I think they're back at 10-10, so they'll be a 500 team. Mets obviously in a good spot, being 14-6. And they've faced Nola before. Earlier this season, they chased him in the 4th inning with 3 runs, so that was a good game for them. We haven't seen Gibby or Eflin yet, and they've kind of been the 2 guys of the Philly rotation so far, which has been pretty interesting. Wheeler wasn't fully stretched out. Suarez had some interesting things with his visa. Those guys will be better down the stretch. But right now, Gibby and Eflin have kind of been like the guys for the Phillies, which is pretty interesting. And I am very interested to see Schwarber versus Taijuan Walker. Taijuan did get him out when he faced him in those 2 innings the first time earlier this season, but Schwarber is 5 for 11 with 5 home runs against Taijuan Walker.
That's pretty good.
Is that good? I feel like that's
pretty good. That's what have you done for me lately? And it's the answer is punch out.
I mean, last one at bat, 0 for 1 with a strikeout.
I'm excited to see all of it, but mostly I'm excited to see if Odubel Herrera battles Max Scherzer again. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
Odubel Herrera takes forever to get in the box. So annoying.
Yeah.
And Scherzer fired a pitch while he was still standing there, like punched him out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had success against him. You got it written down in your notes that Herrera's hit in 54 at-bats, which is a big sample.
A ton of at-bats against Max Scherzer.
54 at-bats against him. He's hitting 296 with 2 bombs, which is shocking.
You take that against Max Scherzer.
Scherzer, I guarantee you he knows it, and it drives him insane. So you're going to see him probably throw really hard against Odubel Herrera. So.
Yeah, recently Odubel's been back in the leadoff spot for the Phillies. I guess they moved Schwarber down. I did kind of like Schwarber up there, but it probably makes more sense logically for the Phillies lineup.
I like him batting leadoff.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
Big on base guy, hits a lot of dongs, so good way to start off your lineup there. What else we got here? Lindor's batting .349 and 43 at bats against Gibby. That's good. Lindor's also going to be mic'd up on Sunday per request of Bryce Harper for Sunday Night Baseball, so that'll be fun. A lot of content's probably going to come from that. And then what else we got here? Marte's 7 for 11 with a home run off Eflin. So the Mets have good numbers against these guys. It's going to be a fun series. The last series in Philly was stressful, but a lot of fun. Mets came out the winners in that set. Hopefully we continue the streak and win our 7th series of the year.
I agree.
Pretty good.
Let's do it.
All right, man. I think that's our spiel. I think we went for like an hour today. It's kind of crazy.
I know. Well, we had a lot of talk, a lot of
passion.
Yeah, a lot of cuss words on today's episode. We might have to send out one of those explicit content,
the little label,
hip hop CD labels on our episode.
Yeah, we're not gonna let Jerry's kids listen to this one. I don't think it's not gonna be on the car. That's for sure.
I don't think my kids have listened to any of it yet. I don't think they're interested at all.
Come on, man! You gotta start grooming them to be Mets fans. What's the whole point?
I'll let them enjoy it, and they wear Mets gear. They're excited for it, but they don't want to listen to Dad talk any more than they have to.
That's pretty fair. Also, go to shop.jomboymedia.com for new Shea Station.
Oh yeah, we got
merch.
a whole bunch of new stuff. We
merch.
got the Great Human Being t-shirts. We have the Next Man Up. We have new hoodies with the awesome Apple logo. Blake and Matt in our graphics department did a great job putting it together. Thank you guys. We have stickers, fun stuff. We got the cool mug. Show them the mug.
Oh, I got the mug here. We also
got the mug. I have it, but we're not recording as early as we normally do. But I'd already had my coffee. But go check out the shop you can click on Shea Station and all of our gear will come up. So go buy some stuff. It's
links
really cool.
On our Twitter. We put up a Big Strong Man t-shirt for Pete Alonso because he said he's a big strong man and could put somebody in the hospital.
Put somebody in the hospital.
Crazy
if I wanted
quote.
to.
Kind of love
it. Oh, he's such a goober. What a goober statement.
Strong goober,
I think that's so funny. What?
He's a strong goober, the best
I'm
kind.
A big strong man. I can put somebody in the hospital easily.
We love Pete Alonso. We love you guys. Check out the merch.
Do.
It's pretty hot. I like it.
For Jolly, I'm Jerry.
And for
Thank
Jerry,
you for tuning into Shea Station.
And for Jerry and Jolly, let's go Mets. We fucked that up. It's okay. Let it roll.
I didn't. We didn't.
I fucked it up.
You did. Don't. And you again, explicit content.
Sorry. We already warned them. It's okay. Let's go Mets.